down certain mosques in the U.S. to prevent the spread of homegrown terror.
Well, you're going to have to watch and study the mosques because a lot of talk is going on at the mosques. And from what I heard in the old days, meaning a while ago, we had great surveillance going on in and around mosques.
So let me stop. Chris, did you did a lot of reporting this weekend? I think I picked up this weekend that actually the French have said they will shut down mosques that breed hatred.
That have radical leadership.
Is that something that you would consider doing as president?
Well, I would hate to do it, but it's something that you're going to have to strongly consider because some of the ideas and some of the hatred, the absolute hatred, is coming from these areas.
Katrina Pearson is the national spokesperson for the Trump campaign. Saba Ahmed is the president and founder of the Republican Muslim Coalition. Good to see you both. All right, so Katrina, let me start with this. The argument against that, one of them, is back to the First Amendment, that we have freedom of religion, we have freedom of speech, and we're opening up a very dangerous door if we get the government getting to go into a religious institution and decide what amounts to hate speech.
Well, Megyn, we don't have the right to plot terrorism and kill Americans. Just let me give you a quick example from the not-too-distant past. We have the Boston bombers whose parents came in with visas, refugees, who escaped this mass surveillance program. They belong to a mosque in Cambridge. The president and founder of that mosque was Abdurrahman Alamoudi, who is now doing 23 years in prison for planning a terrorist attack in 2004. Also from that mosque, Afia Siddiqui, who went to MIT, who was planning a chemical attack on New York City. He is doing 86 years in prison.
Saba,
not to mention Yusuf al-Qaradawi.
What about that? Because even experts have
Megyn.
said, even experts like Andrew McCarthy, who has studied this, have said that the mosques tend to be hotbeds for political activity, not as much religious activity.
Megyn, we go to the mosque to pray. It's absolutely horrifying to hear that our constitutional rights of free exercise of religion are now going to be challenged just because somebody thinks that there may be some attendees who may disagree with your views. But the thing is, like, you wouldn't shut down churches just because there was one or two Christians who were acting badly. The mosque has nothing to do with the terrorists. Yes, there are people who misuse the religion for their perverted ideology, but that has nothing to do with my faith.
But what about the point that it's only the mosques that have the extremist leaders?
Megyn, the mosque that she was just talking about, the one in Boston, has thousands of Muslims, Americans working very hard in that area. We have lawyers, doctors, engineers, civil society. Everybody's working hard to be good American citizens. And to think that, you know, just because there was a few people that may have been associated with terrorism that came to that church, that does not give you the permission to shut down the mosque.
Go ahead.
Megyn, it's not a few people. It's not a few people. It is the founder of that mosque that is in prison right now today for plotting terrorism, and not to mention the ones that have followed after him. But this is
Megyn,
no different than a Christian church. It's no different than a Mormon church. You've had the DOJ investigate Mormon churches and shut them down.
Why don't you go after the individuals as opposed to the
churches.
mosque? Go ahead, then you go after the individuals is the argument.
Exactly. And I'd love to have Trump visit a local mosque in New York or Washington, D.C. I think Mr. Trump has so many business dealings all over the Middle East. He's worked with Muslims. He knows we are good, hardworking people. You cannot alienate the Muslim American voters by targeting.
It's not about alienation. You have to investigate and you have to implement due process. If it's one person, fine. But if it's the entire mosque, it needs to be shut down.
Thank you both for a thoughtful debate.
The day of this attack, our president tells us that ISIS is contained and continues to insist that our biggest national security threat is climate change. Islamic fascism, Islamic terrorism believes they are at war with us, and so we must wage a war against them and win.
That was Republican presidential candidate Carly Fiorina earlier today in Concord, New Hampshire, criticizing President Obama's plan for fighting the terror threat, and later his plan for bringing in Syrian refugees. Tonight, President Obama has just responded, saying at first, this is him, the GOP field was scared of the press being too tough on them during the debates, and now he says they are scared of 3-year-old orphans, meaning Syrian orphans coming here. The candidate and former CEO of Hewlett-Packard joins me now. Carly, good to see you tonight. Your reaction to the president's jab at the GOP field on that?
You know, the president is at his most passionate when he's attacking Republicans. Maybe he's like Hillary Clinton, who is proud of the fact that Republicans are her enemies. Instead of attacking Republicans, perhaps he ought to focus his passion and energy on our real enemies. He had a rambling statement in Turkey on Monday where he talked about our strategy is working. Paris he called a temporary setback. We don't have a strategy. Paris is not a temporary setback. This is an attack. President Hollande of France was very clear. President Hollande of France said, they are at war with us and we will wage a pitiless war. David Cameron of Great Britain was equally clear. Our president was mushy. He's always mushy until he's attacking Republicans. And the truth is that Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, when they declared victory in Iraq in 2011 and withdrew precipitously against all military advice for political expediency, nothing more, nothing less, they left vast swaths of territory for ISIS to conquer and to launch attacks from and plan and build their caliphate and weaponry besides.
Okay, so
this president has been completely inadequate.
Let's talk about domestically, because ISIS is clearly getting more bold. We know we went through the number of terror attacks that they've gone through, and just in the past few weeks, hundreds of innocents are dead. And the question is, what can be done domestically? I get fight them in Syria. You know, there have been a lot of Republicans calling for more ground troops, whether they're American or not. That remains open. But what domestically can we do?
Well, first we have to stop the flow of Syrian refugees. The truth is that most of these refugees are not 3-year-old orphans. Most of these refugees are young, able-bodied men. Secondly, you know, the former deputy director of the CIA, Michael Morell, a man I've known for a long time, particularly when I chaired the advisory board at the CIA, said something very chilling on Sunday, on the Sunday shows. He said that we have known for some time that ISIS was trying to build an attack capability in Europe. They have clearly succeeded in doing so, and that they are focused on building an attack capability in the United States. We know from our own FBI director that our domestic intelligence and security forces are overwhelmed by the number of perceived threats that they think are already in this country.
So we got to increase them.
Why would we add to that problem? Why would we add to that problem?
Apart from the Syrian
when
refugees,
we know that we can't
refugees,
vet these people?
You would increase the number of FBI agents. How would we do it? I mean, Donald Trump is talking about, we're going to talk about in the next segment, possibly closing mosques so that we can show our have radical leaders. Would you do that?
I would not do that because I think that will inflame populations. What I would do, however, is absolutely increase the number of agents we have on the ground. You know, here's a startling fact, Megyn. We have more IRS agents than we have FBI and CIA. Does that strike you as a misallocation of resources? Of course it is. Of course it is. We need to take this terror threat seriously. And when Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama cannot call this enemy by its name, radical Islamic terrorism, when they continue to beat around the bush about who this really is and what really motivates them, when they continue to lecture the rest of us about American values, really, let's get real here and talk about who's the enemy and do what is necessary to protect our nation. Because the first and most important responsibility of the federal government is to protect the nation.
Fran Townsend was on the show last night, former top counterterrorism advisor to President Bush, saying,
yes, I know her well.
We can only track 60 to 70 of these guys a day, 24/7. Just 60 to 70. That's all the resources we have, and we've got over 1,250 who we know are tied to ISIS or linked to them in some way. So the numbers are not good. Carly Fiorina, great to see you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thanks for having me, Megyn.
A former member of al-Qaeda in Yemen, who was once so entrenched in terror he was trusted with finding Anwar al-Awlaki a wife, says not only does he think the U.S. is likely next on the list, but that an attack on American soil is likely to unfold over the next 2 weeks. Morton Storm is a one-time terrorist turned CIA double agent. He is co-author of Agent Storm, My Life Inside Al-Qaeda and the CIA. Morton, thank you for being here. Why do you put such a specific time frame on it, 2 weeks?
I do it because the people that who are on the run at the moment from ISIS in Europe are very desperate, and they know that time is up, and they will need to do as much damage as possible. And for that, I believe that within the next 2 weeks, that we will have an attack in Europe again. We've just seen in Germany now in Hanover that there is a very strong evidence that the German authorities have stopped the terrorist attack. So it's quite severe in Europe now, and I also believe that copycats in America will do the best to do what their brothers have done in Europe.
Because I know you believe that, and you've worked with them, you know these people, that if in their minds, America is the real trophy.
Yeah, you know, when I infiltrated these people, you need to understand their mind, you need to understand, you know, the mentality of them, how do they think, in order to predict what you want to do, and that was my success in my work. You know, I was one of the best, so that's why I am saying quite confidently that I believe that something within the next 2 weeks will happen.
Could they do something, in your view, as coordinated here in the States as we saw in Paris?
You see, it's a bit different from over there, because your borders are quite more tight, but you have also a lot of weapons like handguns, machine guns that people can get hold of, and we have seen that before, that you will have lone wolf attacking, you know, the barracks from the army and other places. But I think this time they could also target target the civilians, such in, you know, shopping malls or other places like we have seen in France.
How conscious do you think they are of the fact that we're going into a holiday season here in America that happens to be a religious holiday for many millions?
Yeah, but that's what they want. This is terrorism. So the terrorists wants to scare, want to make people afraid to live a normal life. So what they do is to terrorize them mentally, so they're too afraid to go outside. You know, Prophet Muhammad said in a hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari, in this one here, he said that I was made victorious by terror. This is the hadith, this is the sayings of Prophet Muhammad, which 99% of all Sunni Muslims follow. So he said in this book here, I have been made victorious by terror. So what it means is he terrorized his enemies, so he was scared, even if the enemies were not there, but they were just scared of him.
There's no thought whatsoever. They don't follow any conventional battle lines. There's no women and children exception. They go shoot up anybody.
Yes, I will quote from here, because I do not want people to think that I am saying something from my own mind. In this book here, Sahih al-Bukhari, hadith number 3012, a book of jihad, it says that it is permissible, if it serves the cause, to kill women, children and babies.
Is this radical Islam? Is that what you're talking about, radical Islam?
No, you know, this is fundamentalistic. This is literally in the book. This is in the book. So this is not me saying it or somebody else. This is Prophet Muhammad, who ordered that say it is permissible to kill civilians, even children and babies, if you justify the cause.
I mean, Morten, how is civilization supposed to combat a group like that?
See, that's what I'm trying to call for, a reformation of Islam. Islam needs to be reformed. As Islam is today, it's violent, it's intolerant and very dangerous for the whole world. It's a supremacist, you know, ideology which has the aim of being totalitarian, like taking over the world. I mean, let me just quote something from the Quran here, you know. This is Surah number 8 at Anfal, verses 39, and it says, and fight them until there is no more fitna, means disbelief or other religion, other besides Allah, and the religion alone will be for Allah. So in Islam, in the Quran, Allah encouraged the Muslims to keep on fighting until there are no religion left. That means everything is wiped out.
Every non-Muslim is an infidel, and every non-Muslim needs to be eliminated.
So I do not understand how we make peace with these people as long as they believe in this.
Morten, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Millions across the world have expressed solidarity with the French people, but some here in the United States expressed frustration, complaining that the terror attack in Paris appeared to be stealing the media spotlight from allegations of racial discrimination and unfairness on the campus of the University of Missouri. One supporter of the Mizzou protests tweeted, quote, "Interesting how the news reports are covering the Paris terrorist attacks, but said nothing about the terrorist attack at #Mizzou." Glenn Beck is back with us now. It's so bad were a couple of these tweets, Glenn, that the university came out and said, these are not from inside the Mizzou community. We don't really know who these people are. And yet there have been at least a couple, including one from DeRay McKesson, who is a supporter of the Black Lives Matter, who says, look, there's no rank order to injustice. You can keep all of these tragedies in mind simultaneously.
I just want you to know that we also didn't know who was driving the truck. We also don't know who used the N-word, and yet somebody lost their job over it. What kind of double standard is this? The tweets are outrageous, and you know, it shows you that their agenda matters. Black Lives Matter. If Black Lives Matter, they'd be in Chicago right now and raising hell over the 9-year-old that was killed in cold blood, lured into an alley and killed in cold blood last week. So it's not Black Lives Matter. I don't even think it's Lives Matter. It is just agenda matters. Let me give you this. This comes from the African Black Coalition, created in 2003 to spread through the California university system. They just wrote a new article and posted it, a new Constitution or a bullet. Let me just give you a couple of lines from it. We do not have the right, do we not have the right to abolish the laws that oppress us? It's time we demand a new Constitution or tell America that she'll get the bullet. If America doesn't protect us, then it's our human right to defend ourselves by any means necessary. Our human right to overthrow a government that's been destructive to our people. We must pick up where the Black Panthers left off and declare a new Constitution, or it will be the bullet. What's happening in our university system is being led by the professors and the leftist and the anarchist and the socialists in our university systems. It's how revolution always happens. They seed it in the universities. We have got to find our way to each other in the universities, because I really truly believe 2016 is going to look an awful lot like 1968.